Another trick of the trade, and something I recommend if you're an animator for Christmas light shows, is even if you're just having a stagnant display, if you're hanging Christmas lights, I always recommend to test them in place, especially if you're on anything elevated, because you don't want to have to climb up in the tree in the middle of winter when it's raining and icing and snowing and horrible weather.
Pal, you got that moisture on your head. Now you can go back to Puxatawny, or you can go ahead and freeze to death. It's your choice. So what's it gonna be? I'm thinking.
I don't know if you can hear it now, but anytime I film anything outside in October, November for the show in Kansas, we're gonna have 20 to 25 mile an hour winds. They're about 20 right now. But you don't wanna have to get back up there and fix anything else. So always test everything in place. Something for you Christmas light animators out there, and what I recommend is test them in place for dimming. What I have here on my program, we use a Prism program for our animated Christmas light show, but I can put it to the selection where it's test all the lights. I can hit select all, use my toggle on my mouse, and I can go out to the front of the street and I can control the lights dimming and fading with just toggling. No big deal, because I have everything hooked up for my light show right here, except for the FM radio. I don't have any music going to it right now. So for this, I simply go here to test channels. If you happen to have this exact program, you go to sequence, you go to test channels. I know this is in channel 8, but I'm just going to go ahead and select all, because it populates everything quickly. And I can go over here and I can manually drag it up and down, or I can just use my little toggle here and toggle it. So here's what I was talking about in order to test your lights and dim them. I have 400 plugged in right here, and I know they're going to dim because they're only 400, but I have them all on. I'm going to take my mouse and I'm just going to toggle down. Right there is at 28%, 19, 16, 13, 10, 7, 4, 0. So we go back up 3%, 6, 12, 27, 42, 57, 72, all the way up. And you can see that they are fading perfectly. So that's kind of what you want. If you have this, if you're an animated Christmas light show guy, girl, gal, and if you run an animated Christmas light show and you have the ability to do this, I highly suggest that you do this. Even if you don't test them in place in an elevated surface, test them before you hang them. So make sure that however many lights you're going to hang, make sure that's what you're testing. And I know for a fact that 400 lights, especially my greens, are not going to have an issue. When I get to about 1200 with these, that's when it becomes an issue, and I'll test them up in the air. What that benefits me out greatly, and it's just so proud of my wife for thinking of this, is we've gotten in situations, especially even last year in my red maple, where I hung 12,000 lights in that tree, 12 or 20, I forget how much, I'd have to go back and look. But they didn't fade correctly. I just had too much ampage per channel. Doing this, where I can test them as I hang them, is I can get all my lights out here, hang 9 strands, hang 10 strands, whatever, and then test them for fading to ensure they're going to fade even before I put them up. And then once I put them up, I test them for fading again, just to make extra triple certain that I have the ampage correctly. One thing you'll notice on your blues, reds, and greens, pretty much any brand, they're going to be off on ampage. They're not going to have a uniform ampage. For blues that we're using this year, it's 0.06 amps. Our reds are 0.04, and I forget what our greens are this year. I'd have to look that up in my notes, but they are not uniform. So you might be able to get 10 strands for 1,000 lights on one channel for blues, and for reds you might be able to get 1,500 lights on there, or 15 strands of reds. Or greens, you might be able to get 1,200 greens. They're not going to be uniform, so you may plan out your amperage, you may do all the math, and find out you could have used more, or you needed to use less. So doing it this way, how we do it, we just started doing this year where we test them in place for fading outside. It's working out beautifully, working out great. So just throwing that out there as a quick tip for you Christmas light animators for string lights who are just getting into the show. So it's a good tip for you.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay.